Welcome to what is happening in today with Crowning Thoughts. Santiago DC Maria Truth Speaker.
The latest Epstein files expose ties to power and demand real justice, folks. Let's dive right into this bombshell that's shaking up the world right now. On January 30, 2026, the U.S. Department of Justice finally dropped over 3 million pages of documents, along with 2,000 videos and 180,000 images, all tied to the infamous Jeffrey Epstein case. This massive release came after a law signed by President Donald Trump himself back in 2025, which mandated that all these files be made public by December 19 of that year. But guess what? The DOJ missed that deadline by more than a month, only unleashing this trove 6 weeks late. Why the delay? That's a question many are asking, especially when the files shine a harsh light on connections between Epstein and some of the most influential people on the planet, including Trump and his close ally, Elon Musk. To break it down simply for everyone watching or listening, Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender who ran a horrifying network of abuse, trafficking young girls and women to the rich and powerful. He died in jail in 2019 under suspicious circumstances, officially ruled a suicide, but many still question if it was really that or something more sinister to protect his high-profile friends. Epstein's operation wasn't just about him. It involved a web of enablers from his partner Ghislaine Maxwell, who's now serving 20 years for sex trafficking, to a long list of associates who flew on his private jet, visited his private Caribbean island, infamously called Little St. James, or partied at his mansions. These files aren't some tabloid gossip. They're official records from investigations, emails, photos, court docs, FBI tips, and more. They're meant to bring transparency, but instead, they're raising furious debates about why no one in power seems to face real consequences. Now, let's talk about Donald Trump. His name pops up hundreds, even thousands of times in these documents. We already knew he and Epstein were buddies back in the day. Trump himself once called Epstein a terrific guy who liked beautiful women, many of them on the younger side. They hung out at parties, and Trump even flew on Epstein's jet at least once. But the friendship supposedly soured around 2004 after a real estate dispute, and Trump claims he banned Epstein from his Mar-a-Lago club. The new files don't uncover explosive new crimes against Trump personally, but they do include unverified allegations, like tips to the FBI about supposed calendar girl parties at Mar-a-Lago or other wild claims that were submitted right before the 2020 election. Some of these were outright false or sensationalized, as the DOJ itself noted in their release statement. Still, the sheer volume of mentions paints a picture of deep ties that Trump has long downplayed. For instance, there are references to communications, shared contacts, and even a spreadsheet with unproven accusations that was briefly taken offline during the release. Trump and his team insist there's no evidence of wrongdoing on his part, and the files back that up in terms of lacking corroboration. But here's the kicker. Why has his administration dragged its feet on fully releasing these? Critics, including some in his own MAGA base, have accused him of holding back because his name is all over them. Even Elon Musk, who was a top White House advisor last year before a fallout, publicly claimed on X that Trump was blocking the files to hide his involvement. That's not just speculation. It's a direct shot from someone who was inside the circle. Speaking of Musk, the Tesla and SpaceX billionaire, often called Trump's Tesla boy in online chatter, shows up in some eye-opening emails from 2012 and 2013. These exchanges reveal Musk coordinating potential trips to Epstein's island, asking about the wildest party there, and discussing holiday visits around New Year's. In one message, Musk wrote, "We will be in St. Bart's. When should we head to your island on the 2nd?" Epstein even offered to fly him in by helicopter. Musk has repeatedly denied ever actually visiting the island, posting on X in 2025 that he refused Epstein's invitations and calling out media for misleading headlines. The files don't confirm a visit happened, and Musk hasn't responded to recent requests for comment. But these emails contradict his flat-out denials of any interest, showing he was at least engaging in plans. Musk, who's worth billions and influences everything from electric cars to government policy, has ties to Trump that go deep. He served in the White House on efficiency matters before quitting in a public spat. This revelation adds fuel to the fire about how the ultra-wealthy shield each other, even as Epstein's victims continue to fight for justice. And it's not just Trump and Musk. The files name drop a who's who of power players. Bill Gates exchanged messages with Epstein about philanthropy and meetings, even after Epstein's 2008 conviction for soliciting a minor. Former President Bill Clinton is mentioned for flying on Epstein's jet and meeting him at the White House, though he denies any knowledge of crimes. Prince Andrew, the disgraced British royal, faces fresh scrutiny over emails and visits. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, Google's Sergey Brin, and even international figures like Indian billionaire Anil Ambani and Australian ex-Prime Minister Kevin Rudd appear in communications. Hollywood stars, CEOs, and politicians from both sides of the aisle are woven into this network. The documents include photos, videos, and unredacted names of victims, which has survivors and advocates demanding more accountability. Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act to force this out, but many say it's not enough. Where are the prosecutions? This brings us to the heart of the outrage. What happens next? Despite all this, Trump remains in the White House, wielding immense power over our lives, from health policies to freedoms and beyond. The courts and Congress have had years to act on Epstein's crimes, yet here we are in 2026, with the same powerful figures unscathed. The DOJ says they've met their legal obligations with this release, but critics argue it's a whitewash. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche even went on Fox News right after the drop to shape the narrative, insisting no criminal conduct by Trump was found. But let's be real. Epstein's operation abused kids and young women, exploiting them for the elite's pleasure, and the files hint at a system where wealth and connections buy immunity. We've seen judges delay cases, appeals drag on, and investigations fizzle out. Remember, Epstein got a sweetheart deal in 2008 that let him serve just 13 months with work release, thanks to influential lawyers. Fast forward and Maxwell's behind bars, but the clients she allegedly supplied, crickets from the justice system. It's infuriating to watch this unfold. The courts, meant to be our guardians of justice, seem spineless in the face of power. They hype up each document release like it's the end for these guys. He's done now, scream the headlines, but nothing changes. Trump and his circle continue to mock everyday Americans, labeling protesters as terrorists while dodging scrutiny themselves. They've ridiculed movements for equality, humiliated those speaking out, and disrespected the very democracy they claim to protect. Meanwhile, victims like those who testified against Epstein live with trauma, fighting for scraps of recognition. This isn't just about one man or one scandal. It's about a broken system where the wealthy abuse and evade, leaving the rest of us to pay the price. We need sweeping reforms, new judges untainted by politics, a Congress that prioritizes people over donors, and real investigations that don't stop at the doorstep of power. Look, the truth is, these files don't prove new crimes against Trump or Musk, but they expose a culture of entitlement that's rotten to the core. Epstein didn't operate in a vacuum. He thrived because doors were opened for him by the elite. Trump's administration promised transparency but delivered delays. Musk's emails show curiosity about Epstein's world, even if he claims he backed out. Other names like Gates and Clinton remind us this crosses party lines. Fairness demands we call it all out without bias. But boldness requires action. Hold hearings, subpoena witnesses, and prosecute where evidence leads. Anything less is a betrayal of the victims and our trust in the system. We've seen this pattern before: Watergate, the financial crisis, endless scandals where the powerful walk free. History teaches us that change comes when people demand it. The Epstein saga started with brave survivors speaking up, leading to Maxwell's conviction and these releases. But it's not over. Congress must push for more, and we the people need to stay vigilant. If we let this slide, it sets a dangerous precedent that no matter how bad it looks, the elite get a pass in the end. This is about protecting our democracy, our kids, and our future. The files are out there for anyone to read, dig in, form your own opinions, and let's push for the justice that's long overdue. If you also support democracy and freedom, feel free to join me in this fight. Click follow, click subscribe, and join me. Divided we fall, and together we can knock down mountains. Through unity is the only way we can make a change. I speak the truth. I share a bit of history. I share what is happening. I try to keep everyone updated with what is going on. I used to write for Newsbreak, but then I went on my own so that I can speak the truth and warn people freely without rules, because you deserve the truth. I do not consider myself independent news. I am just a truth speaker with a mix of everything. I also share about God. I appreciate your time. I do consider myself independent in the fact that no one controls my narrative. I will not say what everyone else wants to hear. That is not why I created this movement. It is either the truth or nothing. Thank you. Stay safe. God bless. I love you all. Crowning Thoughts, True Speaker, copyright 2025 by Santiago DC Maria, licensed under Creative Commons Attribution.
Thank